Hello, Matthew Williams here with a quick video to say yeah, fuck you. So, this is to give you a little bit of an in-depth review of the Coronation Hall lectures, which were run by Roland and the group from the Netherlands, and I was very pleased to, be allowed in, which Roland is very good like that, because I'm that controversial character that people would rather ignore. But nonetheless, I went to see what people had to say, and I was mostly there to see the speech by James Hussey, the farmer from Hackpen Hill. And he's the guy that allows people to come on the land and is charging them money, to kind of see the crop circles, and putting this money towards charities, which I think is a good thing. And I just wanted to kind of, see where he was coming from, so attended mostly for that. But there were some other things there whilst I was sort of coming to see that. There were also other people. There was Michael Glickman, who I'm never really that impressed with, but nonetheless, interesting to see what shit he comes out with, nonetheless. And then there was Gary King. Yeah, plenty to say about Gary. Then there was this guy, can't remember his name, but it was a single name, which you always know is a fucking problem when somebody has such an ego that they just call themselves like, Starman. It's like, but do you have a first name like, Matt Williams, or do you have a sort of, do you have a surname, a family name? What sort of what is it that possesses somebody to kind of say, no, my new name is Sky Dumpling? Well, that's two barrels. No, sorry. So Dumple, and it's like, oh, really? That's your name? So was that your birth name, like Dumple? Or, what the fuck? So anyway, this guy with a single barreled name, he didn't really seem to know what he was talking about, or wanted to talk about, because he didn't really seem to have his slides prepared, and he didn't seem to know how to pace himself with speech. He didn't seem to want to describe what was in most of his slides. So his slides was literally there as, oh, here's a picture. Yeah, I really haven't got time to talk about this. But anyway, on to the next one. Yeah, this is another interesting picture. Yeah, this is very complicated. But as you can see here, there's a picture of a pony. But anyway, on to the next one. And it's like, what the fuck is this? What's the purpose? What is the actual fucking purpose behind this guy's talk? I mean, he was talking about tarot cards and weird stuff, very flaky, very flaky. And I thought, well, how does this guy fit into anything? It's why is he, what's it got to do with crop circles? It's very little to do with crop circles, really, that I could see, or my brain could bear to take in whilst yawning between yawns. So yeah, he was a bit of a weird one. Then you had Philip Ullens, who was very good, and started to talk about his background into crop circles, how he got into it all, how he started flying over the crop circles, and how all of his sort of interest in this area led him to buy the hen shop in Avebury, as we all do, because we're all that rich, like, oh yes, I was bored last week, I just bought the hen shop in Avebury. But whatever. Yeah, just spare pocket change, just just needed a hobby. Yeah, right. So, but it was a good talk, and I did enjoy what he had to say, and he seemed like a nice guy. And you know, I'm not dissing the guy. He actually came up to me and had a chat with me at the Crop Circle movie in Devices that I put on, and so he seems like a very nice guy and somebody I could probably sit down with and have a chat to, which probably doesn't go for some of the next lot of speakers like Lucy, Michael, and Gary. Well, Lucy can now bring herself to kind of say, oh, hello or something, whereas in the past it used to be, I'm refusing to speak at this conference if Matthew Williams is not removed. Yeah, and last year, sort of walking up to me whilst I was flying my drone in a field, and standing on the edge of the field, and she sort of walked up to me. She said, "Oh, do you know where the crop circle is?" And I said, "Yeah, it's in the field up there. That's what I am flying over now." And she said, "Oh, very good, very good. Oh, yes, you're flying a drone." Words, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's that's what I'm doing." "Oh, yes, very good, very good. Do I know you?" And I went, "Yes, you know me, Matthew Williams." And she went, "Matthew Williams, uh, well, anyway, nice to see you." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, nice to see you too." And then it's like, sort of, yeah. Anyway, so she skedaddled. Anyway, so I did pretty well out of that occasion. I don't think she really wanted to say hello to me for some reason. Not this time, but yeah, she gave a lecture which was. I wonder whether she'd been abducted by Doctor Who and transplanted 25 years into the future, because I don't think anything's really changed with Lucy's research. She's still stuck in a time warp. She still can't comprehend that most of her research is not all that scientific, and she thinks it is. She thinks it's wonderfully scientific, and she's got a doctor, some sort of doctor who's looking into her work, and he's a real doctor, and it's all very interesting, and it's like, yeah, right, okay, well, yeah, P.T. Barnum once said, "One born every minute." So it doesn't necessarily mean just because you've got a doctorate and you're medically trained that you necessarily have a full understanding of what's going on with crop circles and other paranormal things. Was it not, I believe, Arthur Conan Doyle who was totally taken in by spiritualism and some of the claims of spiritualism, which were in many parts fake? And I do believe in spiritualism, actually, but I think there is a lot of fraudulent stuff that goes on in that sphere too. But with Lucy, she just can't seem to, connect the dots between taking somebody into a field where they know this is a crop circle and they're almost expectantly being pushed in a direction of, we're testing you with electrodes to see whether or not there's a strange reaction or any reaction. They're priming you to say there's going to be a reaction, and then they take you in and whoa, there's a reaction. Now, for the sensible amongst us who might have heard of a thing called suggestion, and a few more of us who might have heard of a thing called placebo effect, which means if you give a drug to somebody and then they are feeling much better, it's because they expect the drug to work. So they have physical and mental reactions, and the drug seems to be working, even though there was nothing in the drug. It was just sugar. Yeah? So placebo reactions are real things. Lucy doesn't seem to have kind of heard of this, and so all of her research, which is based around how wonderful it is when you take somebody into a crop circle and they have some sort of positive healing effect. Well, did they know it was a real or not real crop circle? Well, that doesn't come into it, because that doesn't matter to Lucy. I mean, it's a crop circle, it's a real crop circle, and we took them in there and they had a real effect, so it's all real. All of it's real, folks, it's all real. Yeah, so great. But what if that was made by people? Then they were having a strange effect in a crop circle made by people, which could mean one of two things. Maybe there are real effects in man-made crop circles, or maybe it doesn't matter whether it's man-made or real. Maybe it actually doesn't matter. Maybe you'll get those effects if you blindfolded them and took them into a grass field, but made them think it was a crop circle. You know, but has she done that type of double blind? I don't think she's done that type of double blind. No, it seems to me like she just takes people into crop circles. They know they're going into a crop circle, and when they arrive in the crop circle, then they have the strange effect, which to me smacks of zero scientific criteria. Because if you're not testing it with double blinds so that people don't know what's going on, then that is bullshit. Yeah, of course they're going to have these effects. You know, they've shown in many examples with hypnosis that you can tell somebody that they've been burnt. You can say, oh, I've just poured scalding water over your body, and the body will come up in wheal marks and welts, and, you know, and act as if it's been burnt. Lucy doesn't seem to have quite reached that level of understanding. I don't know why. Maybe she doesn't watch enough television or read enough books. I don't know. But anyway, bless her. Glad she's doing what she's doing. Sterling work. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Don't let the bastards like me grind you down. Just keep doing what you're doing. Ignore any criticism or scientific objective suggestions. Carry on. Just carry on, my dear. You're doing a good job. Yeah. Just keep it up. If you wonder why scientists aren't flocking to, you know, knock down your door and get hold of this research, if you wonder why they aren't, it's a government conspiracy against you. I mean, the government, you just want to hush up what you're doing. It's very, very top research you're doing there. It's very highbrow. And probably they're very frightened. They're very frightened by the amazing results you're getting. Yes, I'm sure their governments and scientific bodies are literally peeing in their knickers. So, yeah. Okay, on to Mr. Glickman. Let's do this in order of silliness, right? I mean, Glickman, we know he's a miserable old fart, and apart from the obligatory, yes, a posh voice and staggering along with give myself enough time to think of rather engorged words which will confabulate and excite upon the imaginations of the masses. You know, just fucking pad it out. Yeah, pad the fucking talk out so that you actually have probably said about 180 words in the whole of your talk. That's fine. That's fine. We know this is how you operate, Michael. Less is more. Just seem like the sued that everybody, oh, isn't he mysterious? Oh, yeah, that fucking guy, Mr. Glickman. Yeah. Well, it seemed like his talk was geared possibly towards me. I don't know. It seemed like a lot of that, what he was saying, from the circles he showed up on the screen, which was the basket weave. Ho hum, ho, the basket weave, that could never be done by people. Yeah, right. So there was that. Then there was the Fool formation. It was like the Joker, and it's been talked about why that one was made, because it was Paul Obi who committed suicide, who was a circle maker, and his friends decided to do a couple of things to mark that, to say goodbye to him with a crop circle. They used to call him the Fool. You see, his nickname was the Fool. And as the Fool, this is the crop circle. It was a person with a stick going over their shoulder with a knapsack, or a little sort of thing on the end of it, to carry their food. So it was like the Joker, that was that. And that was done for Paul, who committed suicide. And another one that Glickman liked, I've talked about this many times before, so I'll keep it brief, but the pants. It was a pair of underpants, and that was one of Paul's little sayings, and the group always used to say pants, or something is total pants. Yeah, so they did a pair of pants, and Michael Glickman depicted these turned the other way up, so it was harder to see that it was a pair of underpants, and actually said that it was what was it, something like a gift of God or something. I can't remember what it was now. It's in one of my previous videos. Anyway, so you got, it's almost like as if you show something or talk about something being man-made, then Michael Glickman will do cartwheels. He will literally get out of his chair and run around the fucking room to prove that it can't be done by people, and of course, proof to Michael Glickman is just him saying it can't be done. And I'm not impressed by this concept of, well, I have done research which shows multiple levels which are so intricate and beyond any ken and multifaceted, on top of geometrical underpinning complexity to the nth degree, and then add to that an encrypted, symmetrical, asymmetrical, geometrical, bioflavonal, duodenal, rectal, arsenal, fucking spermatoprotozoa, fucking, hydrocephalopoid, fucking, so it can't be done by humans. Yeah? Yeah. Whoosh. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, right. Whoosh. I think most of the people in the audience would be lost on the first word that Michael Glickman says, let alone the 31st word that Michael Glickman says. By that point, they're all like completely cross-eyed, glazed, yeah. But ultimately, after he'd gone, this can't be done, and this can't be done, and this can't be done, obviously a lot slower. I'm speeding up Michael Glickman. He doesn't speak like that. He speaks a lot slower, but this can't be done, this can't be done, this can't be done. Then he went on to his tirade about the liars and the cheats, the humans that cannot be trusted and are seething. And you can see. Now, the funny thing is, right, there is a thing about time with Michael Glickman which is quite interesting, because at the beginning of his talk, right, anyone who was there will tell you this was the case, but at the beginning of his talk, much like I've heard people saying, maybe not now, but in the past, Michael Glickman would turn up in town with his car, get out with a stick, walk a little bit. When he thought nobody was looking, then the stick would go away and he'd walk perfectly normally. Yeah, get back to the car, a couple of 100 feet away from the car, start using the stick again, so it looks like he's legit with his disability, and then gets in the car and drives off. Okay, I mean, I am getting somewhere with this. I am getting somewhere. I'm going to come back now. There seems like an element of something not right with Mr. Glickman. And I'm not talking about his multiple sclerosis. I'm talking about how, at the beginning of his talk, he gets up there and he's, I'm very sorry. It's very hard for me, with my thing, like sympathy vote. Yeah, okay. So he's talking very slowly, and it sounds a little bit sort of drunken type of thing. But then as the talk gets going, and then he starts to forget that he's not putting it on so much, yeah, then he speeds up. And then, funnily enough, when he gets onto the point of talking about the liars and the seething scumbags and the deceivers and all the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and he forgets. He's now talking fucking really quickly, and there's nothing really wrong with his speech. He's actually having a way. He's fucking going for it now, isn't he? Way, he's all speeded up now, isn't he? So what is it? Talking about human circle makers and why we're scum, and as he put it, we should be shunned. What does talking about us like that, does that speed you up and get rid of your disability? Does talking about human circle makers actually heal you, Michael? Does it heal you because you speed up and your speech becomes more coherent and people can understand what you're saying, and you're louder and you're faster? So are we actually healing you, Michael? Because to me it just seems like you lay it on a bit thick, sir. Yeah. And you forget yourself, don't you? You forget that you're trying to lay it on a bit thick, and then once you get going, you forget, oh fucking hell, actually I'm speaking perfectly normal. Oh fuck. Oh dear. Yeah, right. So I think a number of people in the audience might have picked up on that, but I'm sure I wasn't the only one. Anyway, then we come to James Hussey. Perfect speaker, great. He knew how to put slides on. He knew how to speak. He knew how to pace himself. He was a good speaker. He was very emotional, because of the subject matter being how he got involved in crop circles. His wife was still alive, and then she passed away, and now he does what he does about allowing the crop circles to be visited and putting the money towards charity such as the cancer charity. All that stuff, very emotional, and that was a real talk. That was a real talk. I enjoyed that, along with Philip Ullen's best talks of the evening. So then we come on to Gary. Wow. Yeah. I mean, some people say, oh, come on, Matt, you're just saying this because, Gary kicked you in the nuts and punched you a few times. No, I'm not saying it because of that. I mean, I tried my best to kind of forget about that, actually. What it is it did come across like Gary is like a little kid, like pulling at his parents' trouser leg, going, Mummy, I want this. Mummy, I'm telling you this. I got something to tell you. Mummy, I got something to tell you. And it's like fucking, that's what his talk came across like. It seemed desperate. It seemed, over the top. It seemed badly researched. And to be honest, it reeked of low intelligence and inability to discern, because the subject matter was, apart from crop circles and how wonderful crop circles were, it was about how wonderful Gary was and how much amazing stuff he's done over the years. So it was like, I thought this was going to be a talk about crop circles, but actually it was a talk about how Gary is really good at spiritual stuff, and how Gary is really good at karate, and how Gary is really good at like paranormal research, and how Gary is really good at, you know, and he actually says it. He doesn't just tell you what he's doing to allow you to understand that he's done these things. It's like a CV. This is me. I've done this. This is good. I was better than everyone else, and everyone said I was good. This is me doing something else, and I was really good at it, and everyone said I was really good, one of the best. And this is another bit of research, and everyone really liked it, and everyone said this was some of the best research they'd ever seen. And this is another thing I did, and it's like, it was just like, this is me, this is what I've done, aren't I good, I'm better than everyone else, next topic, on and on and on. It's fucking embarrassing. It's really fucking embarrassing. I mean, you know, like, does Gary have that, like, need? That need, like, mummy, look what I did. Look, I did a drawing. It is in crayon. It's great. You know, I mean, has he got this fucking need at a man of his age to kind of be, you know, shirt pulling the fucking audience? Look what I've done. Look what I've done. It's like, you know, right, okay. As they say, just the facts, ma'am. That'll do. Just the facts. Yeah. So I learned that Gary was some sort of karate fucking bloke. What's that got to do with the price of fucking fish? Yeah, and other things. What the fuck has it got to do with anything? You know, Gary's into karate. Gary's into fucking being a guru, and you know, and fucking television programs be made about him doing his karate. A BBC documentary that was on about karate, and it had him in it. What's that got to do with fucking anything? Shit, for fuck's sake. I mean, you know, it's like me saying, you know, going to do a talk on crop circles and spending 3/4 of the fucking talk talking about how I made computer programs when I was a kid, and how I sold them to magazines, and how I used to, you know, pirate software, and we used to go to school and I used to pirate tapes, and I was one of the biggest pirates in my fucking school, and I was better than everyone else, and and people would be like, what's it got to do with crop circles, for fuck's sake? Yeah, it's got nothing to do with that. So you don't bring it up. You know, just there's a time and a place for this shit, and it isn't there, especially when you've got a short slot to speak in. So what he did is he compacted all these things about how good he was into a tight space, so it didn't make any sense, really. And you know, and then the best bit was saved till last, and he was trying to race through it, and you could see, I am trying to race, and I'm going to get all my points in really quickly, and anyway, this is the stuff about the Brazilians and the psychic surgery, and I wrote a book about this, and it was one of the most popular books ever on the subject, and everyone said it was a game-changing book, and it was really good, because I'm really good. It's like, okay, so then I've got video footage of the psychic surgery, so I'm just going to show this to you now. There may be some blood. I've got to warn you, there may be some blood. Right. Understatement of the century. There may be some blood. Really? I think there was an obscene level of blood and gore and disgusting fucking imagery, which most people in the audience were repulsed by. A lot of people had to turn away from the screen because it was so fucking repugnant what was being shown. I think it really didn't deserve a place in a crop circle talk where people were trying to get like on a positive vibe. And well, apart from that, I'll come back to the, you know, why was he showing that? Why in the first place? Let's talk about what was in there, okay? I'll give you a visual pictorial description of what it was. As Gary put it, there may be a bit of blood. Well, I'll put it slightly differently. You may be fucking disgusted what I'm about to say, and it may make you feel ill, right? And just like Gary, right, that's an understatement, okay? That's a fucking understatement from me, okay? Here's why, right? You had people being psychically surgerized by fake fucking charlatan people that we all know are fakes, and we all know use sleight of hands to get fucking pieces of, body materials and pull them out and fucking wave them around. All the classics that have been dealt with time and time again by investigators and, going into this fraudulent bullshit, yeah? You had people being cut open and then magically being sewn up and they're all okay, and it's like and they heal very fast. Well, they heal very fast because they weren't fucking cut open, that's why. Yeah. So you've got people sticking their hands into stomachs, pulling out bits of random meat and fucking waving them in front of the camera for maximum effect. Look, a bit of meat, and it didn't exactly look like it had been cut out, surgically with sharp edges. It just literally looked like a gashed up old bit of fucking steak, being waved around in front of the camera. So next scene, I mean, people were wincing at that. Next scene, it's like somebody says, yes, I've got a bone saw now, and it's like pulls out an electric bone saw, and there's a guy sitting on the table, and he just goes, and it's like, as he's cutting through the bones of this guy's chest, yeah. Strangely enough, you don't see blood splashing all over the place and bits of blood, which I would have thought you would have had from using a bone saw, So somehow this psychic surgery auto-cauterizes as it cuts through the chest, through the ribs, through all this, right into the chest cavity. Now, bear in mind, there's not much accuracy. You're probably cutting into the lung. You're probably cutting right into the lung, because how much accuracy is there in this bone saw? But yet, no blood at all. And we didn't actually see him put his hands inside this chest cavity. We just saw cut to the next scene where apparently has been stitched up later on. So all's been done now. And, and then miraculous recovery. Hasn't maybe occurred to Gary that some of these people are stooges? In on it, perhaps? So then we go to a cut scene of, right, and this is where people are like, oh, fuck's sake, right? And Gary's loving this. You can see him up the front, and he's like, it's like fucking, like the guy is possessed. You can see him, he's like all, like as if the audience should be loving it, like he's loving it, and the audience are not loving it. They are not at all loving it, Gary. They are not at all where you are in your headspace at all. I guarantee it, mate. They're not where you are at all, right? And so he then puts up on the screen, deep breath, an eyeball, and it's like this big across the screen. So imagine a big fucking eyeball about this big. Imagine this is a big video projector, huge fucking video projector, and this is an eyeball, and it starts about here and it just comes down across the screen like that, right? Yeah, so a huge fucking eyeball, and you're like, it's an eyeball. Oh shit, what's gonna happen here? And into the fucking eyeball like this. Let's imagine. Can I do this some way? Yeah, this is the eyeball, right? Come on, let's get this up here, right? I'm not very good at this. This is the eyeball, right? And into the scene comes a big fucking razor blade, right? And you're thinking, oh, what's he going to do? Is he going to cut this gently? No, he doesn't cut it gently. The razor blade goes like this. Chun 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 chun. Across the fucking eyeball at high speed, like slice, 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 slice across this fucking eyeball. Or that's how it appears. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? I'm just like, what? What are we looking? What the fuck? Anyway, that was the last video. Thanks thanks, Gary. Thanks. I'm glad it was the last video. I'm sure everyone in the audience was just over the fucking moon. That was your last video. Well done. Yeah? So, Gary then proceeds to tell us how he's written a book about psychic surgery and da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, I'm going to say that Gary's research over the years has been slightly lacking. Gary doesn't know how to understand that people make the crop circle, so that's obviously a bit of a problem. Gary also has pushed really flaky stuff like the 777 Eastfield stuff, which was touted as being a ball of light, flash of light, sorry, across the field, and then woof, then there's a crop circle there. It appeared in minutes, it wasn't there, yet we've actually shown you that in the footage you showed, your own footage, you can actually see the crop circle there. So they got it all wrong. But Gary still, no, still stands behind all that. No, he still stands behind it. So then we've got this stuff now. You know, we've got Gary is a spiritual healer. Gary's a spiritual healer. Yeah, Gary told us he was a spiritual healer. He's a spiritual healer. Does spiritual healing include punching people like me and kicking them in the bollocks and, you know, punching, kicking, yeah, and trying to throw fucking Wellington boots at quadcopters? Is that's part of the spiritual healing that Gary is obviously involved with? He's a spiritual healer, yeah. If you're a spiritual healer, Gary, then I suppose Charles Manson was probably Surgeon General for the United States, yeah, you know, and maybe Myra Hindley was actually head of the NSPCC for the United Kingdom. Yeah, if you're a spiritual healer, Gary, then that's what that means. Yeah, yeah, no, mate, not really. Okay, sorry, no, you ain't a spiritual healer. No, yeah. Anyway, back to the final bit, which I found utterly fucking hilarious, which is Gary says, he says, there was a guy and he had cancer and he went for the spiritual healing and they did the stuff on him and they did the healing, and then, you know, his own doctor, and he sort of does an aside, he said his own doctor said this to him. And Gary, you can see Gary at this point is like revving himself. He's revving himself up. The audience are kind of, But Gary's like, so his own doctor said, and his eyes go wide. His own doctor says, and his head goes back, and he goes, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. So it's Gary now shouting, you're gonna die. And I mean, I'm trying to keep my voice down because it's quite late and I don't want to fucking wake the neighbours up. But it's literally, Gary says, and his own doctor said, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. Now, can you imagine any doctor anywhere doing that to a patient? You're gonna die, shouting it at them. You're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, shouting it at them. You're gonna die. Do you think that any doctor, you know, would get away with that? Do you think that the nurses sitting out in the other room would have fucking heard that and thought, what the fuck is going on? Don't you think that questions would be asked about this doctor's conduct, you know, with the mental, you know, the mental stability of the patient who's suffering and needing support? Is it normal for a doctor to say, you're gonna die, and shout it at them? Right? According to Gary, this is what the doctor did to this patient. Really? Yeah. And Gary relates it in this way. Maybe that isn't what the doctor did, but that's what Gary said the doctor did. So it must be true, because Gary shouting it out like that is going to convince us that it must have been a real event that happened just like Gary said it did. Wow. And I don't, I know there's obviously irony and pathos, and but there's overacting too, and to the level of incredulity, you know. I just really don't know if Gary realizes what he looks like when he's in one of his, over exuberant states where his eyes are opening and his head's pulled back and he's shouting at the audience, "You're gonna die, you're gonna die." Yeah. Well, anyway, so apparently this guy didn't die, and this is proof of something, well, yeah, lots of people are told that they could well die, probably a bit more sensitively than that, and they don't. This does happen, Gary. It's not unheard of for people who were expected to die to actually make full recoveries. It does happen sometimes. And maybe, maybe the psychosomatic effects, going back to Lucy and her talk, maybe sometimes the psychosomatic effects of healings can appear to work. And if they do, all well and good. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they were healed per se by the actions of said psychic healers. Maybe they would have got better anyway. It would be hard to say, wouldn't it, really? It would be a little bit hard to say on a scientific standpoint. But here's the thing, right? From watching this spectacle, which was Gary, and I know I'm focusing heavily on Gary here, but it was a fucking spectacle, Gary. It really was a spectacle. You went out to do a spectacle. I'm sure you really wanted to give the audience a spectacle. And I can confirm to you, Gary, that it was indeed a fucking spectacle. Yes. So well done. Well done. I was thoroughly eye-opened and amazed. You did actually stop me from being tired, and I was watching you, but I wasn't watching you with amazement. I was watching with a slightly different kind of thought going through my head, but it did actually make me sit up and take notice, but for all the wrong reasons. So well done, well done. Yeah, but I don't think you're going to be winning any awards or prizes or anything soon, unless of course they're from bullshit friends of yours that would give you such awards, of which there seem to be many, because it would appear that you are in fact Nobel Prize material of the highest order, world class, number one, bigger, better, faster, stronger, harder, leaner, as the songs went, the number one fucking dominator, and the one and only dominator. It's like, right, okay, so enough Gary bashing. It was that bad, but Gary, you really need to work on your fucking talk if you don't want to appear like a fucking 5-foot penis. Yeah, walking back and forth the stage, and getting slightly more erect as the fucking talk goes on. If you don't want to appear like a 5-foot penis fucking doing that, I suggest you possibly look at the way you do your talks and base them slightly more on factual things, not fantasy island fucking storylines. And yeah, great. So for your information, Gary, a lot of the stuff you talked about has all already been dealt with many times over the years. Psychic surgeons are bullshit. And if you can't discern that, then your level of investigative skills is going downhill very fast. I'm shocked, actually. I'm really shocked. I didn't think you were capable of going quite that low, but there we are. Maybe you should go and see Cy Barber. he can create you some verbuti, and you know, then you can sit beside him, and he will put some sort of, you know, thing on your head, and say Gary King is has been sent to us from God. You know, he's like a representative, and you can start your own church thing, Gary. You know, you can start your own little church cult religion thing, and you can have loads of people come there, pay you money. You can do psychic surgery on them, and yeah, you can make a lot of money, and you know, yeah, yeah, great, cool, yeah, go for it, man, go for it, yeah. But I don't know. Possibly in the wrong country for this sort of stuff, Gary. You'll have to go to Brazil. You'll have to go to Brazil because we have laws against that sort of thing in this country. And yeah, go to Brazil, Gary. Yeah, set yourself up, mate. Set yourself up. You could do well. You could do well for yourself. Yeah, really. So anyway, that was my review of the Coronation Hall talk, and it was an interesting one. But they usually are, but for all the wrong reasons. But yeah, I'm always interested to see what people are up to, and it's a shame that the one thing that's never on the menu is the one thing that actually creates all the crop circles that people are there for, which is human circle making. That never appears on the menu. You know, I keep on asking for it to be included on the menu, but somehow it's not very popular, that one. I think people prefer the bullshit. So anyway, that's my thing. Thank you to Roland for letting me come. I did keep my mouth zipped. I was tempted when Glickman was talking about liars and charlatans, and to remind him that he actually claimed he was a professor, but that was a lie. You know, so if he's talking about liars, then he should include himself. I was so tempted to just say, what, lie like you, Mr. Glickman? I mean, you're a #1 liar, sir. You know, I was tempted, but, you know, on best behaviour, on best behaviour. And as I've been pointing out to some of the people who are on my drone channel, you know, I don't go into the politics on the drone channel. I don't do the politics on the drone channel. So if you put politics on the drone channel, I will delete it, because you can argue amongst yourselves, just don't try to drag me into it with, oh, you said you were the human circle maker, da 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 da. That's on this channel, not on that channel. That goes on this channel. If you put it on that channel, I will delete it. So don't be offended. You may get banned from that channel, but you can come and talk about it on this channel. And there's a reason for that, and it's because all these little precious people who don't want their little worlds impinged upon by talk of human circle making, you know, I leave the drone footage for the believers. They can have it, they can watch it, they can love it, they can enthuse about how wonderful the drone stuff is, and probably most of them aren't even aware that Matthew Williams, that guy who does the drone footage, is the guy that used to make the crop circles. They probably don't even know that, yeah, and they don't do any research, and they just like the pretty little stories and the funny stuff and blown nodes and dead flies stuck to the plants, and you know, balls of light made the crop circle and all that sort of stuff. And I think, well, let them get on with it. Let them get on with it. If they want to talk about it, they can come over here. That means they've done some fucking research. But guess what? There are many episodes of Circle Makers TV that only have a couple of hundred views. And those drone pieces of footage, some of those are 10,000 views, 15,000 views. Some of them, it was one of the highest, was 280,000 views. Yeah. And you know why? It's because we're not talking about it being made by people. Yeah. Isn't it funny, as a little social experiment? Yeah. Circle Makers TV has been up now on the website for 6 years. And it's not even getting into the thousands of hits on most of those. And there's all the information you could ever want, and it's not even getting into the thousands of hits, yeah? But you put a nice pretty picture of a crop circle and fly around it with a drone. I love it myself. It looks great. I'm doing it so it looks great, yeah? But that little fucking ditty will get thousands and thousands, 8,000. I put one up a couple of days ago. It's got 8,000 hits. Yeah? So people don't want Circle Makers TV. All they want is pretty pictures, and pretty pictures are flying around the fuckers. Yeah? So if that doesn't teach you something, I don't know what will. The truth is not what people want a lot of the time. People do not want the truth. All they want is pretty pictures, ghost stories, and entertainment. Hey, there you go, Gary. So maybe you are onto a good thing. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you've been watching this far, you're probably fucking certifiable. So book yourself into the nearest NHS mental patient ward as an outpatient and get yourself some free drugs. So thanks very much for watching.